wasn't
is
bad.
It like a private stripper party, or is it like just?
It actually wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad.
No,
yeah,
really?
yeah.
I mean, there's a little bit of play, which is
that's normal.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Dirt Drive. As always, I'm Trevor. Today we have PJ.
What up?
And Tom.
Was that a brap? Like brap?
I think that was a what up, but
It sounded like a brap.
yeah.
What up?
He was watching a lot of Drifty Boys the other day.
Yeah, R.I.P. Ken Block.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you're up on your current events, I don't know where in the future past this episode lies, but that was Monday the 2nd.
Yeah.
It was a kind of a weird day.
Yeah, him, Jeremy Renner.
Yeah,
That was a lot of weird stuff.
the big football accident. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's,
Jeremy Renner's still alive. Just
Yes, as is the Bills player.
yeah.
It was just
Ken Block is not.
It was just a very weird day. A lot of
Yeah.
really intense things happened. Tim is not with us today because, according to him, he has to help clean his house because he will have anywhere between 1 and 40 people showing up for Friendsgiving. So today, we're going to do one that's been popping up a lot recently. We've seen a lot of people at the shop come in and ask about it and are curious about it. And obviously, it's one of those big topics that always manages to circulate through anytime someone's got a stock vehicle or purchased one that's slightly pre-built. But whether or not to get rid of that stock front axle or both, or build up what you have. Not necessarily a controversial thing, but everyone definitely has their opinions about it.
pros and cons to it all.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, the big one from years ago was always, did you need to swap your front axle on your JK to run 35s? And in the forums, the answer was a resounding yes, but that was proven to be not true unless you're PJ.
Or as Angel said,
I
should have wheeled, but I wanted 1 tons and 40.
Yeah. I don't know if I would say it's not true because I mean,
I don't think it's true to the extent that the forum made it out to be.
it's not.
There were a lot of guys
It's
on
not
there that,
required.
yeah.
So like.
A lot of
get
guys
away
made it
with a
seem
lot.
like it was.
Yeah, I've always had the mentality of there's a huge difference between required and recommended. Like it's to do 37s
Oh, yeah.
on a Dana 30, you're out of your mind. That is
Yes.
a requirement. You want to run 37s, you have to go to at least a Dana 44, and even that in the JK world is pushing it.
Yep.
The weight of the tire, the rotational force, all those fun facts, like the way you're just going to eat up wearable components and risk bending and breaking things is just not worth it. You'll end up spending way more money in the not so long run to maintain and keep that weak axle together. But then like 35s, if you're daily driving it, yeah, you can get away with a Dana 30 for a long time, as PJ gives us a goofy thumbs up because his poor little LJ has been skipping leg day for the last 20 years.
Yep.
But like, if you're gentle and you understand your weak points, then you can usually survive. Like,
Mine did just fine.
yeah, and that's the thing is most non-Rubicon JKs top out at 35, and like that's a very capable vehicle as it sits for the majority of wheeling. Like I don't necessarily see a big push to need a bigger tire than 35 other than outdoing your neighbor.
Or if you're rock bouncing.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah,
like a
there's-
whole nother.
There's definitely applications for it, but a necessity, not so much.
I think doing 1 tons and 40s for the majority of the off-road world is like a status thing for most people.
Oh, yeah. I would
Like,
agree with that.
And social media is just feeding into it.
Of course.
It's working, but
Well, but that's kind of my point with the forums, right? It's like back in the day, you go on the forum and you go, can I run 35s on my Dana
Yeah.
30? And the
You get
first
like 10 or
15 posts
15.
would be guys going, you're going to bend your axles, you're going to break your
Yeah.
axle shaft, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, yes, that is a possibility, but there's ways to strengthen the Dana 30. Obviously, you can truss and gusset it.
There's a lot more options these days, too.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And then just keeping in mind what your wheel and tire package is, you can, 35s are heavy. Don't get me wrong. A lot of aftermarket wheels are heavy, but there's ways to, lighten that a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely depends on what type of wheel you're running.
Oh, yeah. Like, if you're running a fuel wheel with a 35, yeah, that's a heavy beast.
Well, it's not so much the brand, it's like the specific wheels. Like, there are fuels and methods that are super light,
True.
and there are versions of them that are super heavy. It all depends on the wheel.
The fuel assault, super heavy.
I would say more so beadlocks. Like, beadlocks are going
Yes.
to make them, is where you're going to really have a jump in weight. And at that point, like, if you're putting beadlocks on, like, it's time for you to overbuild things. Like,
Steel, aluminum, or what's the other one for wheel? Steel, like what it's actually made of.
I mean, in the off-road world, you really only see steel and aluminum. I mean, there's
I feel like there was a third one somewhere. I can't remember.
Dragon bone.
I mean, if you want to get technical, like there are carbon
Adamantium.
fiber and like titanium wheels out there, but not
Yeah.
really applicable to Jeeps and trucks.
Drifty boys.
That's like pure race car shit.
Yeah.
All aluminum.
Yeah.
Like where the wheel weighs like 10 pounds.
Yeah. No steel and all sex appeal.
Yeah, your 23 lug nuts on your JK weigh as much as one entire rim on some of the supercars. But yeah, I don't know. It is a bit subjective. I mean, the example I always give people is old scrap heap, right? Like that thing had a Dana 35, and everyone's like, "You're crazy wheeling on a 35."
I mean, you were.
It's a grenade, and the only thing that didn't blow up on that entire vehicle was the rear end.
Not for lack of trying.
And that was right. And what it comes down to is it's all like setup and driving, right? I knew if I went above a 33, that risk factor increased, so I left it at a 33. The other end of all this is the cost side of it.
Oh, yeah.
And like, what's the benefit to you as the consumer of, do I just truss it and beef up the Dana 30? Like, yeah, it's got a smaller ring gear and all the other fun technical crap, but the JK setups are pretty stout.
Yeah.
As are the new JL setups.
Yeah.
Like if PJ wanted to upgrade it on a budget, I think going up to a JK 30 and 44 setup would be a great budget option for a TJ. It's a wider axle, it's a thicker tube, there's all kinds of benefits to the slight upgrades. The JK is a fat pig. It's a 4,500 pound vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And LJ is what, 2,900 without armor on it.
Something like that.
So like, just that alone
Vastly different.
increases that factor of protection.
Well, and like you said, I mean, you can focus on upgrading the components of it to help mitigate a lot of that risk factor. You upgrade your ball joints, upgrade your drive or your axle shafts and all that stuff. So, I mean, there's plenty of people that do it, and have had no issues. And then we've also seen the other end of that where someone goes a little too hard and
Tomahawk.
by axle.
Even with all the trussing and upgrades we did to his axle, like he still beat the crap out of it, and it still showed its age. And like again, that was the type of wheeling and driving he did. And now that he has got the upgrade, there's a little bit more confidence there. And the nice thing is, look, that Dana Ultimate 44 is beefier than a stock 44 front. So out of the box, it's already an upgrade over even a Rubicon axle.
Yeah.
And you still have room to keep going. What'd you find?
So TJs and LJs are between 3,000 to 4,000 pounds.
Really?
JKs are like just a little bit, like maybe 500 pounds more than them. JLs?
Oh, they're like 5,000.
5,000 to 6,000 pounds.
Yeah.
That is fucking ridiculous.
I think the average sport is like 5,200 pounds.
Yeah. That's why they beefed up the JL so much.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Which again, like like everyone forgets, everything's plastic these days, but we've added so much other crap. Leather is heavy. All the wiring is heavy. Computer modules are heavy.
I think people forget how heavy wiring is.
Yeah.
Like if you've ever tried to pick up a wiring
Yeah.
harness,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, I think the small engine harness you bought for the Comanche, wasn't the shipping weight on that like 38 pounds?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's
that's
wild.
And that's from 1987.
Wow. The Tesla weighs less than a Jeep.
That doesn't
Yeah.
surprise me.
I
The Tesla's
100%
all
believe that,
plastic.
yeah. Well, but also the Tesla's all self-contained into like one
True.
thing. There's not
Yeah.
like I mean, have you? You've pulled apart a JL, like you know, like the wiring in the JL.
I just would
compared to
never have
JKs.
thought it would
Oh,
weigh
yeah.
more than a JK. Like,
The JL?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
way more because here's the other end of that. On the low end of the spectrum, the JKs were manual doors and windows, right? So
Yeah.
like that's saving a couple 100 pounds right off the bat, and now all of a sudden your JLs, even with the aluminum door, those doors are just as heavy as the steel door because of airbags and all this other crap that's in it, and it's
Stupid
just miles and
safety
miles
features.
and miles of wire. It's nuts.
Yeah, and the JL's got so much wire.
Like I feel like vehicle weight is something that doesn't get talked
Mentioned
about
enough?
as much.
Yeah.
When you start talking about axles, like everything's about tire size. Oh, I need Dana 60s because I want to run 40s.
Because the axles have a weight rating too.
Well, yeah. So that's you have your curb weight,
Yeah.
right? The weight of the vehicle sitting on its tires, and then you have like your sprung weight, right? Like the weight of the axle itself doesn't necessarily affect the strength of the axle. So if you put Rockwell's under a stripped TJ, the TJ may weigh 10,000 pounds, but you only got 2,000 sitting on top of your axles. And the nice thing is the drivetrains in the JKs and JLs are relatively light.
yeah.
And they do make good power for their size and weight, but they're not so powerful. Like a JL Rubicon out of the factory is pretty well overbuilt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've definitely beefed up their axles.
Well, yeah, that's
since
why they
the
weigh
JK.
6,000 pounds.
well,
now.
just the vehicle in general. I mean, it was a massive upgrade from the JK. So
So yeah, I think the crate axles are a really good option for an easy swap. From a shop standpoint, like if you're
even from a cost standpoint, like it's
well, that's what makes it. Like for us, it's a lot of time and which translates to money for the customer.
Yeah.
For us to build you an axle, right? There's time to strip it and clean it and all this other stuff. When it may sound like a lot to buy a $5,000 crate axle, but when it takes us 6 hours to install it and align it, like that's easy.
Yep.
When you realize for us to do the same thing on a used axle, if it, by the time you add your ball joints, get new shafts, all new bearings in the diff, function check it, paint it, get it installed,
truss, gusset, like
and the prices people are asking for used Rubicon axles these days is ridiculous. I remember I bought a set of non-Rubicon JK axles for a project that the idea was the 30 would just be used for mock-up, and then I would build the rear 44 and eventually put a crate 44 in it. And I think I bought that set of axles for like $500.
Yeah.
And they had 410s in it already.
Yep.
Now, like Walshy was sending me stuff because like he's thinking about doing like a Rubicon axle for the front of his XJ out of like a TJ, and people want $3,000 for a TJ Rubicon axle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell? Like you still have to build that axle out just to put it in anything. Like $3,000. Like you could buy a whole TJ for $3,000.
I bought my whole set of axles pre-built for $2,500 bucks.
Well, I mean they were pretty gnarly, but that's.
Still, they're geared at 513.
Yeah, I think I am definitely of the school of thought with like Angel of you don't need 1 tons and 40s to have fun.
No.
No.
No, I think we've proven that more than enough.
Yeah, and I think unless you have really deep pockets and you really want something that's bomb proof, it's definitely an overkill build.
And there's definitely applications for it. Like you can. There's definitely certain things where it is necessary.
Yeah.
But the average off-roader
Yep.
is not going to be doing enough of those types of things to really warrant spending that much money.
Yeah, I think a set of crate 1-tons these days are $15,000-$20,000.
Yeah,
You're
it's-
talking $10,000 for the front and 7 or 8 for the rear.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's a good value for what you get, but it gets difficult. And then, if you're not a DIY person and you are road tripping that, when you start,
that's not comfortable.
well, it's not even a comfortable thing. If you're driving it around the country and all of a sudden you got to roll into AutoZone and you tell them you need a 2002 Ford F-350 hub for your 2021 Jeep, they're gonna be the kid at AutoZone's
Ford
head,
8.8.
yeah, it's just gonna explode, and it's like,
The 2017 with a 2009.
yeah,
What?
What?
yeah, now you're looking at a tow bill to find another specialty shop.
Yep.
It's difficult if you're not building stuff yourself. Like, it's one of the reasons that we push the Dana axles, because they are OEM parts that you can get anywhere, and they give you the list of part numbers.
Would you spend the money to build a Dana 30 or a Dana 35 at all?
He almost did.
Because
Yeah,
the stuff to like build a
He
Dana
almost did a
30 or
Super
Dana
35
through Barnes and stuff is so cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, he almost did the Super 35
Yeah,
behind Scrappy.
so at a point when I was going to keep Scrap Heap, I was like, because I think I still have the shafts in the garage.
I think so.
I'd gotten a set of like 30 spline Dana 35 shafts for like $100 on clearance through one of the wholesalers. I was like, oh shit! Now all I need is the carrier, and like that carrier is a locker. I think Yukon makes one 30 spline.
Yeah.
Just new ring and pinion, slap the thing in, bing bang boom, you're locked and geared and ready to go. But it was one of those situations where it was like, I want to go above a 33.
Yeah.
So like beefing up that axle for longevity didn't really make sense because the rest of the vehicle around it was crumbling.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Oh, I would have been.
Can you imagine if we'd ever gotten Scrappy to the point of running 35s? Like,
It just like the downside to that is it's just so much more work.
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, and that's the thing is like, yeah, I could have beefed up the 35 and had comfort knowing that it wasn't going to explode, but I would have ended up dumping money into the axle that didn't explode while I bent the front axle in like 4 different places. Like it's like, oh shit, I could have saved $600 and just bought a truss kit for the front and everything would have been fine.
Poor Scrappy.
This week, we'd like to thank our partner over at Rocktrix Wheels. Rocktrix has been independently manufacturing parts and accessories for the off-road industry for well over 10 years. Rocktrix offers the best, high-quality, high-strength aluminum wheels for all your off-road needs. You can use Dirt Drive, that's Dirt Drive, for 5% off your entire order on the website. You can find their website linked in today's show notes. Thank you, Rocktrix, for supporting today's show, and thanks to all of our listeners for supporting companies that support us. Are you enjoying this podcast? Do you want more ridiculousness from the Dirt Nerds? Check out DirtNerdsOffroad.com. It'll link to all of our social media, as well as our YouTube page, and you can pick up some sweet merch to help support the podcast and other adventures.
I'm on the fence about
You
like
got done dirty.
building the front axle just for fun
Yeah.
and buying like JK or JL axles and just doing the swap.
I think the JK axles on yours would be a good one.
And that's something I've talked about for years.
Yeah.
I think
I just haven't found a good deal yet.
I think if you're gonna,
I think it's going to be a while.
Yeah.
if you want to just build axles
Unless you
for
go
the
to pick
sake
and
of
pull.
building axles, I would definitely do the JK swap. Because the problem with the Dana 30 is it's not that it can't be beefed up.
Yeah.
There are certain things you can't beef up. It's still a small pinion. It's still a small ring gear. And like in your case on 35s, if you put 456s in that, your pinion head's going to be as big as that microphone, and it's just going to be
Pretty much.
You'll eventually just rip that to shreds.
That's the other part of it is
Right.
I don't want to re-gear it until I have a better axle to re-gear.
Right.
Yeah, because what are you at now?
What, gear-wise?
Yeah.
Stock gears.
Should
Should be 411, 410. I think we
with
looked it up not too long
automatic-
ago.
Yeah, with the automatic, it's 410, I think.
From the factory.
Yeah, I think the stick shift was the 411.
Yeah.
No, well, so
And the TJs.
the TJ stick shift 4-bangers were 411s.
That's
the
what it was.
Rubicons.
Oh, right, because that's what Kearns is.
Yeah, the Rubicons were the 410 as well.
Yeah.
Most of the automatic 6 cylinders were like 307s or 321s.
Yeah.
But
Like Brian's.
but
the
if
Rusty White thing is 307s.
Yeah.
Race car.
Yeah.
if you got like the tow package, because the LJs had the
Yep.
44 standard in the rear, like 410s were an option.
Yeah, I mean that's how I got lucky with mine because
Yeah.
mine,
Yeah,
the
JK
first owner
yep.
bought the tow package, so I had 410s in there.
Yep.
We went to go change it one day, and he plugged in. He goes, "All right, you're probably 321s." Oh, did this get re-geared at some point? No, it's got tow package. Oh, you got 410s. You're good.
Yeah, that was early on when I was still like learning all those little details of the JKs and whatnot. I mean, now with the JLs, there's so many different gear options, and like, I think.
Well, and the JL axles aren't even they have some weird code for them now too. Like they're not even 44s, but they're like the M210 or whatever it is.
Yeah, so they have different designations because like
it's a different axle,
right?
Like,
so
it's,
like the Dana 44 that you have in the Comanche, out of the Ford is a true Dana 44.
Yeah.
That ring and pinion essentially works in all Dana 44s.
Yep.
Up until the JK.
Yeah.
So like the JK was a Dana 44 JK. It had its own designation because it was a slightly bigger ring gear, slightly different housing, and then on top of that, the Rubicon 44s were different than the non-Rubicon 44s. So like,
let's make it complicated, boys.
yeah. Like the bearing races in the rear are slightly bigger. The shafts are different, so the carrier's different. The housing's very close to the same, minus the differences of
What
the
a
bearings.
fucking nerd.
It's like it's in our name. And so like, yeah, there's all these great things that they did to beef it up, but then that's why they changed all the designations with the JL, because yes, it's a 44, but it's only based on a 44.
Yeah.
So like,
I mean, even the
M210,
appearance
M220
is different.
Yeah, it's a different diff cover. It's all
Yeah.
that different kind of stuff.
Good luck finding lube blockers for that.
Well,
Yeah.
the nice thing is they have the factory.
Yeah.
They have the factory gasket, so you don't necessarily need it. But the further the OEs go into this off-road rabbit hole,
Shenanigans.
I honestly, it's the best thing for us as enthusiasts because gears are expensive, driveline stuff is expensive. It's
Yes.
not the easiest thing to fix, and that is like Jeep does a great job at focusing on making that stuff not crap.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, no matter how good they make it,
Someone's going to find a way to break it.
as off-roaders will find a way to break it.
We'll break it.
And that's why like 37s and 40s have become so accessible because, you know,
Yep.
if we put 40s on the stock fucking TJ axles,
Yeah.
that thing wouldn't make it out of the parking lot.
No.
You'd hit a pothole and bend your axle.
Pretty much.
But if you really want to party, you could put 40s on your stock JL Rubicon.
True.
It's going to be a dog on the hills, and like you probably are going to break something eventually, but it's not like critical.
Yeah. Not critical
warning
failure.
light. Yeah. And like just the thought of putting 40s on anything other than a JL is so daunting because of like
yeah.
because like on a JK, like yeah, you 40s on a JK, you're talking 1 tons.
Yeah.
I mean it's completely unnecessary.
But it's awesome.
It looks cool.
Yeah.
And it'll definitely piss off the Karens in your HOA, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But it also kills your gas mileage. Like we had a customer stop by the shop the other day who was picking up his buddy who was dropping his Jeep off, and he's 1 tons on 40s, and he's like, I love this thing, but damn it, do I hate it right now.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm getting due for tires. My tires are $500 a piece. They're bead locked, so it's $500 to mount new tires.
And that's why there's always a 1 ton 40 swapped rig for sale.
Yep.
Everywhere. Yeah, like he daily drives it. It's just the gas mileage. He said he's getting like
Or they
12
keep getting
miles to
pulled
the
over
gallon.
and keep getting tickets for stuff that's not street legal.
Thankfully, we don't live in California.
Yeah. Or it has an
Straight
LS
to
swap
jail.
and they're tired of fixing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think you bring up the motor swap. I think that along with it, a lot of the DIY guys at home tend to forget some of the smaller detail stuff.
Oh,
like
yeah.
if you don't tell the computer you're running larger tires,
Sure.
you're going to start screwing with your drive line because the
Yep.
transmission is still thinking, oh, we're running a 33.
Yeah,
like,
the RPMs
we're
and
good. And,
calculations are all off.
yeah, and you know, the biggest thing people complain about is, oh, my speedometer's off. And it's like, yeah, and your transmission hates you right now.
Yeah, your whole drivetrain and computer is just hyperventilating
Yeah.
continuously.
And then all of a sudden, you put in the right tire size and they go, oh, it's even driving a little better. It's like, yeah, because the computer understands it doesn't have to work 3 times as hard to run that 33 that you got on there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a lot of nuanced stuff to that.
Yeah.
Like you go to build it out and people just go, yep, slap the axle under it, put big tires on it, and we're good to go.
I feel like our listeners probably hate us. Like if they listen to this for advice, and then they just spend an hour listening to us go, well, it really depends on what you're going to do. We don't have a set answer for you.
I feel like 40s are reserved for the people that can afford all of that maintenance.
100%.
They can
Yes.
afford to break stuff.
Yes.
Yep.
Or
Because you're going to.
Oh,
Like, there's-
absolutely.
like,
Yeah.
Even on 1 tons, you're going to break stuff at 40 because
Yeah.
the wheeling you're set up to do and the wheeling you're going to go do, no matter how well you build
yeah.
it, you will find something.
well, that's
to
the
break.
other
yeah.
aspect of it. Like it's for those people that can afford it, which is the rock buggies, the people that trailer their rig,
Yep.
people that don't drive it on and off road. If
Hey,
they
hey,
do
hey,
drive
hey,
it
hey.
on road,
We trailer our rigs and we can't afford it. So.
still. But you're running 37s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 37s is like that
30,
perfect
37s
balance.
on beefed up axles. Like
That's like the perfect balance
it's
for
a
what we
it's a
do.
44 that's also trussed
I honestly-
and gusseted
Yeah.
and like
I think anything above a 37 becomes a cheat code.
oh yeah.
Like
Or
well,
you just enter that
think-
realm
think-
of rock buggy.
Think about when 37s used to be the cheat code. Like
Yeah.
now
in my
there's-
opinion, they still are, right? Like,
yeah, but they're at least building stuff now where it's like, okay, 37s are a minimum requirement. Like, ooh,
well, so I think
like at the Cove, yeah, 37s are a
Here-
cheat code. Absolutely.
You're opening up another can of worms here that's probably going to take us
yeah.
off topic a little bit, but like the trail minimum requirements on the trail, I think at this point are just marketing tools.
Oh, yeah, of
'Cause-
course.
And the perfect example I use for that is
Ski trips.
the Rubicon Trail, right? Like they don't necessarily have they don't say you can't run the trail if you don't have 35s and at least one locker.
Yeah.
That's what they recommend, right? That's what
Yeah.
the Park Service says, this is what we think you need. And I think the idea of that is it keeps people in their rental cars out.
Yeah, absolutely.
True.
Until Fred and Dave go out there and non-built vehicles and run the trail.
Fred did it with a spool and a CJ5 on fucking legit pizza cutters.
Yeah.
Not these modern 33 12 and a half pizza cutters.
It keeps the
Legit-
Joneses
That was like a
out.
9-inch
Yeah.
wide tire.
Yeah.
It keeps the Joneses out.
Yeah, and
Oh,
then Dave
absolutely.
did it in $1,000 long bed square body that they
That
bought
was
on
great.
Craigslist
Yeah.
the day before.
But again, that just proves it's a driver thing.
Right.
Like that's
right, and that's why I say like just because you can afford 40s and 1 tons doesn't mean you have any business
yeah.
doing that trail.
Yep.
So like if you
And we know a few people that are exactly in that category.
but I mean the other end of that is we know a lot of people who have 40s and 1 tons and know what they're doing.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why I feel like it's a cheat code because if you're built that far and you know what you're doing,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
it takes the technical aspect out for me. Like I love the fact that I would guide JL Rubicons on 37s in my open 33-inch tire Grand Cherokee,
Yeah.
and they're all going, "Wow, your Jeep is so built," and I'm like, "No, it's not. It's literally a pile of parts that were in my front yard.
It's customer takeoff
it's
parts as my
literally
lift.
scrap.
Please, sir, I don't appreciate your praise.
Well, it's
Yeah.
like think about Mike from Appalachian Off Road said that. That's why he doesn't drive buggies anymore because
Right.
he's like it's boring.
Yeah.
Eventually, you get to a point where nothing is a challenge, and he goes, "I would much rather run a JK on 2.5 and 35s
Yeah.
all day long because at least then."
Yeah.
I feel like I have to actually work for it.
Yeah.
And
kinda
that's half
what-
the fun.
I
That's
think
why I want to build my 30.
well, yeah, but I think
Just for the fun factor of
I think
it.
it's a cycle, right? Like
Yeah.
people go through and they build it a little bit and they go, "Ooh, I want to build it more to go do the harder stuff." And then
Yeah.
they eventually get there and they go, "Man, they don't realize that half the fun of off-roading is the
challenge.
getting stuck and the challenge and having to back up
Right.
and take a different line." And when they are first getting into it, they're like, "Oh man, I wish I could just bomb right up this hill. Like I could just do like the buggies do." And it's like, yeah.
well, yeah, but then you
that's
get
boring.
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
you get a
Because the
buggy.
buggies can only go to one place. They go to Bunny Hole and they sit there for 3
I mean, there are other
hours.
places, but yeah, like, but that's the idea is you're building your buggy to do things that are borderline impossible, right? Like
Yes.
like to me that's becoming less fun in my mind. Like
What, spending hours to go 5 feet?
yeah,
Yeah.
Like, and
It's cool to be able to run completely on your side for about 10 minutes.
But
Yeah.
like for me to build to that level,
yeah.
like, sorry, but
The investment's not worth it.
it's not even the investment, but like bunny hole, like there's no reward in my mind for building $100,000 rig to run the same boulder obstacle every other month through the summer.
100%.
If I'm putting that much money into a rig and making it that bomb proof, it's to go run an Ultra 4 race and do it at speed.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to just sit in like, triple low.
I want to drive off a cliff.
Yeah. Go full Lauren Healy and literally just yeet it right off the side of a mountain and drive away.
Yep.
Like that's fun.
That's fun one time.
Yes.
No, it's fun over and over and over and over again. If you and your rig survive, I'm gonna yeet it off every cliff. That's why I'm really excited this year, because I think King of Hammers is gonna.
You're not yeeting that YJ off anything.
Oh, I didn't say it was yeeting the YJ off anything. I think King of Hammers is going to be awesome this year. But again, that's a side note. Another episode. We'll do another episode on King of Hammers later. But
King of the Hammers.
The whole idea of overbuilt is great, but I like to be selective of what gets overbuilt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like overbuild your internals for reliability.
Yeah, overbuild for longevity.
And that way you don't have to you don't have to worry about it, but you're not gaining so much capability that everything becomes boring, right?
Because ball joints, axle shafts, gears, that's all good good shit.
Yeah. No, that's kind of where I'm at. I definitely do lean towards the build what you got.
Yeah.
Unless you're seriously trying to upgrade.
Yeah.
Well, and again, I mean, you've said it before where it's, build it for what you want to do.
Yeah.
Right? So, but I think with that, what a lot of people forget is still be reasonable.
Yeah.
People always, like you said, they want to do 1 tons and 40s until they go drive it to work that day.
Yep.
And they realize, ooh, this was not a good decision.
Well, I can't fit in my parking spot.
Yeah.
Can you guys help me? I can't fit in the parking garage. Nope.
Crunch.
Well, and it's
You did 1 tons and 40s and 6 inches of lift. Can't help you there, bud.
Yeah, I think the other factor that doesn't get talked about with tire size as often as it should is you're gaining height out of your tires.
Oh yeah.
Like there so many people are like, it's only a 2-inch lift. Why is it so much taller?
Because you put bigger tires.
You just went up 5 or 6 inches in tire size. So your 2-inch suspension lift on top of 3 inches of tire, like you just netted 5 or 6 inches of lift. And it's like,
Yeah.
If it's a true 35 or a true 37.
Yeah.
Most of the off-road
but even if it's not, right? Like if
tire
you're
sizes these days.
if you're running a 36.8, right, you're still getting 4 to 6 inches of clearance, and it's always amazing when we say that to people in the shop, and they just are like, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, you might want to go home and measure your garage, because that's not going to be a fun one when you drive home and your wife goes, "Is this going to fit?"
Buy a whole bunch of spare tires.
Your HOA says, that has to fit.
Yeah,
you can't park in your driveway even though you own the house. Stupid HOAs.
I mean, there was a guy that called in the other day that did that. He goes, I'm going to measure my garage first and I'll get back to you. Like, yeah, you should probably do that.
Yeah. And the I know we touched on it before. The serviceability is definitely a big one also that, you can beef up components, but no matter how much you beef up stuff, it still wears out. And just because you put in heavy duty parts doesn't mean they're not serviceable, right? Like, I think
people lack the serviceability, right? Like they just think,
they forget.
It's a HD part.
Yeah.
I don't ever have to touch that.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we've got a customer coming in on Monday that's, 20,000 miles, a bunch of off-roading on his lift and suspension and everything. And he's going, it's been a couple years. I probably should have done this last year. But everything's tired. And it's like, it still happens. There's still wearable components. And, if you don't upgrade the parts, they're just going to wear out that much faster. And even after you upgrade it, it's not bulletproof. It still wears.
Well, and it's like to say it's, especially like on the JKs, right? If you put 35s on there, your ball joint life just got cut in half.
Yep.
Like just
instantly.
right there, because it's a heavy it's heavy tire. Putting an aftermarket wheel on there is probably a heavy wheel. It's a lot of stress on there on the ends, and
perfect example. AK's Jeep is a great example of that. And it's not from a lack of maintenance. It's just from a lack of experience of this rattle's normal, or this wandering is normal, and it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Your parts are worn out. Well, the parts are only 2 years old. Yeah, well, you've been four-wheeling 10 times in that 2 years.
And he drives it everywhere.
Right.
He puts a lot of road miles
so
on it. So
you got 20,000 miles plus 10 trips on it, and 10 hard trips because
a lot of potholes.
Yeah, AK's got the touch of a sledgehammer.
And Arlington doesn't know how to fix their roads.
Again, valid, but he still has the touch of a sledgehammer.
I'm just saying it would have lasted slightly longer, definitely exacerbated by where he lives.
Oh, 100%.
A lot of stop and go traffic, a lot of potholes. Like,
well, and then on top of that, he
drives BMWs and motorcycles and doesn't know how to drive a slow vehicle. The speedometer says 120. Doesn't mean it should do it.
Everything's a race car.
When you're AK.
Get him. We should.
The Aggression King?
No, I should take his gears back out.
Oh,
that way he can't accelerate so hard.
well, but see, that's like
put 307s in
I
his
feel
Jeep.
like AK and Tom Walk are similar, but different circumstances, right? Like Tom Walk does not drive his Jeep a ton, right? Because he got the beater card because he wanted it to be a trail
and his
rig.
Jeep's also always broken.
Well, but it was
Not
always always broken because he beat the crap out of it on the trail,
Right.
Right? Like he's a working firefighter. He only works 9 days a month. He wasn't really driving it daily.
Well, he
that
works
much.
a lot more, but it's all overtime.
Yeah, but he wasn't driving it that far that much. Whereas AK is the complete opposite. He is basically double teaming his Jeep by beating the crap out of it and daily driving it.
Yeah,
PJ does the same thing.
Yeah, Tom
PJ doesn't clean his shit.
Tom is definitely
I
a
did.
good case study.
When?
I cleaned it.
Bullshit.
It's
I
clean.
did.
Yeah, you didn't see it in the driveway.
Did you get underneath and clean it?
I did.
Okay.
It's not
I didn't
either of
lay
our
underneath
problems.
of it.
He's got to work on his own shit. So he's on
That's
his own.
why I cleaned it.
Yeah.
Because I'm anticipating for me to work on my own shit.
Sidebar PSA for all of our friends and customers: if you go wheeling and break your Jeep, please clean it before you bring it to the shop.
You're going to get charged a detail fee.
Yeah,
Yes.
but anyway, so Tom Walk is definitely a good case study for build versus replace,
Yes.
and I think
How much did he spend on that axle?
to be determined.
well, I'll tell you off air.
Huh.
It's a Dana 44 crate axle.
Yeah, it's nice.
Like fully built, everything. And it was 488s.
Yeah, 488's E-Locker. But so he's a great example, right? We knew he beat the shit out of it. He needed a replacement badly.
Yes.
Right? Like he was the perfect person to go, you should upgrade your axle.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was I can't spend that money to put a new axle in. And I was like, all right, well, how do we patch it together to make it survive?
Yeah.
And it was just that for like 2 years of every time it went out, he broke something. And it was like, okay, now it's time. You know, we've hit that point where you could have already put the axle in for what you've done to fix it over and over and over again. And I don't necessarily disagree with that as a mentality of upgrading. Like I'm definitely of the mindset, break it and then upgrade it. Like there's no reason to just swap out perfectly good parts unless unless you're trying to build some
I
sort
think
of dedicated crawler.
Yeah, and I think it's the same mentality of when to buy a new car, right? Like if you end up spending more money per month fixing your shit versus what it would cost you to just have a car payment, you're doing it wrong. Like unless that thing has some kind of sentimental value to you, there's no point. And upgrading your Jeep is the same way.
Yeah.
If you keep snapping axle shafts over and over and over and over again,
it's
just upgrade your axle shafts.
Right.
Stop buying the stock axle shafts because they're costing you $250 a pop.
Yeah.
When just go spend $1,000 on the chromoles and slap them in if you're doing it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, you may still break them, but at least they have a lifetime warranty.
Yeah. I do. I guess. I mean, I feel like we're kind of leaning in the build it mentality. And again, I don't hate that. I think building it's definitely a great
For the average
option,
person, yes.
because you can kind of tailor it to what you want.
Yeah.
But I also feel like there are times where instead of what you would spend to build it, you could just replace it. So like to beef up that Dana 30, if you're 2/3 of the way to swap it in a 44, just swap the 44 in.
Well, yeah, and I mean, PJ's situation is definitely... It is time.
That would have been a fucking perfect TikTok reel when we finished his axle.
He's got to come back for us to wire everything, so we can still do that. Spoiler alert for our social media followers.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing.
But yeah, like PJ's situation is definitely a unique one, right? Because he's got a weaker version of what he could build.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a little different. But if you're talking strictly JK to JK or JL to JO, right? Build what you have. If you're daily driving that thing, like it's.
I think too though it does still apply, right? Like there are plenty of things you can do to beef up that front 30, but
absolutely.
Like thankfully PJ is not a sledgehammer driver like some of our friends. So like he probably could.
Unless it's the Explorer.
He could get away
I
with
beat the fuck out of the thing.
with throwing.
Well,
that's why they call it a beater. Car.
Yeah,
it's the Exploder.
it is a tank, but
It's a
Ford.
It'll blow up. You could sleeve and truss and gusset that axle and put in beefy ball joints and great shafts and re-gear it and everything and have zero issues with it for years.
I mean, I'm surprised I've gotten this far.
Right.
Considering it was your first car,
Yeah.
As
The front gears are definitely like lackluster at this point, but I mean, they're still rock and
how
rolling.
long has it been on 35s?
A couple of years now.
Right.
those things are tired.
I've gone through 2 sets of 35s.
Yeah.
They're tired.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're like have you opened your front diff recently?
I think
I
so.
feel like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
did a month or two
Where your
ago.
spider gear is just crying?
No, I think I just drained it. I didn't crack the
Are you
the shell on it.
How
Or maybe I did. Maybe I did reseal it. I don't remember.
The oil wasn't
is
bad.
it like a private stripper party or is it like just
It actually wasn't that
full-on
bad. It
stripper
wasn't that
blowout?
bad.
No,
yeah.
really?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a little bit of play, which
Well,
is
that's normal.
yeah.
But yeah, it really actually wasn't that terrible.
No.
Because I remember him coming inside going, "It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be."
Maybe they're already gone.
No. Oh, they're still there.
They're just smooth bushings at this point. Yeah, I mean I think the other factor there is the resource side of it. If you're a DIY guy,
Yeah.
and like you want the project, like we are self-deprecating and don't want to spend time.
We know
with
how
our
to take
lives.
care of it.
I was gonna go with I just spend more time in the garage than I do in my house.
Yeah.
But also, the cost factor of maintaining the upgraded parts is lower for us.
Yeah.
Which I definitely plays a factor. I get it all the time. Well, what would you do? You don't want to know what I would do.
Because what
I would do is probably not street legal.
Yeah.
what we do to our vehicles is not something we would do to yours.
Yeah,
not want to know the answer to that question.
from a
I'm okay if I die in my own shit.
Yeah, from a customer service standpoint, do as I say, not
Not
as I do.
Oh yeah.
We can afford to blow up our own stuff.
Right. I would no, but
You can, but you're going to pay more for it.
right,
There you go.
right, and like
From a cost standpoint,
yeah,
we're paying
I'm gonna
less if we
feel
blow
bad
bad.
We
if
don't
I
pay
go,
for labor.
You don't need
Well, we
that.
do, just in a different way.
Yes.
You don't need that, and then 3 weeks later you've blown up. Like now I've given you bad advice because of what I would do. Because if I blow up in 3 weeks, then I'm just my own idiot.
Yeah.
So the official opinion of Dirt Nerds Motors is
Built, not bought.
do whatever you want
Also true.
because we don't want the liability of giving you bad advice.
Yeah.
Disclaimer.
Yeah.
All in all.
we will do exactly what you pay us to do,
Yes.
And
nothing more, nothing less, and that's it.
I think all in all is if you have a certain goal in mind, go with it.
Yeah.
I think the official opinion is yes.
Ah.
If you're, yeah,
One word.
yeah.
Should I do this? Yeah.
Do you like credit card debt?
Because I'm $30,000 in credit card debt.
Yeah, I say take it out, wheel it, figure out how far
Yes.
you want to push yourself and push the vehicle,
Yep.
and then build it.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're worried about getting scratches on your Jeep,
Yeah.
not worth
figure
doing
out your
40s and
wheeling
tons.
style too.
If you're okay taking that brand new Jeep out into the woods
Yeah.
with temp tags on it and beating the shit out of it, that may be a worthwhile investment.
If
for
you like hearing your engine bounce off the rev limiter for minutes at a time, 1 tons and 40s.
yeah,
Peter's Mill drivers, King of Hammers drivers.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just there's
I
there's a
think-
fine line for the in between drivers.
I think that's
don't know if it's
that's a factor.
such a fine
You
line.
know, I'm glad you brought that up because that just made me think of something. There's an entire class of King of the Hammers that has stock axles.
yeah.
Right? Like it's not that it's impossible to build your stock axles.
Just harder.
It's just a matter of what are you
What do
are
wanna
you
do?
willing to do
Yep.
or
Yep.
sacrifice for it?
Yep.
Like you don't like 40s and 1 tons on a JL. Like you're no longer in the stock class
No.
at a off-road race.
Was it the Curry JL Gladiator? I think it was Curry. It was like 2 or 3 King Hammers ago that they ran it through. I want to say it was the stock class. It was the Gladiator. I think
Probably.
Eric Miller was driving it or somebody.
Sounds about right.
It was the black and red one.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had actually finished.
Yeah.
Was that on stock axles?
It may have been.
Should have been.
Well, the
Although,
King of the
isn't
Hammers
that a
classes
weird
get
one where it's like stock style suspension?
it really depends on
Yeah.
the class.
yeah,
So like,
because I know like Tim.
Yeah, I do know.
technically-
I do know. Rockcrawler ran a sponsored Jeep last year that I believe was like 392 with long arms and a cage, and that was it.
Yeah.
And that was in the Everyman Challenge because that's a stock Jeep from the dealer lot, and like that's
That's
like
wild.
it's wild, right?
That's $150,000 Jeep.
Right, because then there's other guys also running their XJs on leaf springs,
Tim.
racing. Well, in the same class, racing a 392, 700 horsepower. Like, yeah,
It was the Everman Challenge. It was a 2020 Gladiator.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
So that's like the 4400 class. No, 46.
46.
46.
So if that helps answer your question,
And he won.
Yeah.
you can be stock and still run King of the Hammers.
Yeah.
So
now you're allowed to upgrade those parts.
well,
but like,
yeah, but I think it's
well, yeah, you're not.
the overall condition has to be stock.
I'm pretty sure. Like it still has to have it can only have parts that it would have had, or the style parts that would have had when it was new.
Yeah.
So like
Mine's out.
I think this kind of floods over into the King of Hammers talk, but for the Everman Challenge, the stock class allows running with factory spec engine, frame, and body, tires limited to 35-inch in diameter.
I'm out.
It was the Savvy Off-Road Gladiator.
Okay. So that didn't answer our question on whether it could have 1 tons or not.
No.
Added a roll cage, winches, custom suspension, Fox Racing shocks, and Dynatrack 60 axles front and rear. So it wasn't stock axles,
Okay. So
but it was stock Mopar axles.
Yeah,
I
the
guess that's like the caveat for that.
Yeah, you probably can't do a fabricated housing. Like you
Yeah.
can't do like a Spider Tracks 9-inch or something wacky. No, see now
Those are very convoluted rules, but that's a discussion for a different time.
yeah.
Yes.
So
But there are guys that run stock axles. and
Oh,
those things.
absolutely.
This is actually where Tim would come in handy because I know he like follows that stuff in pretty deep detail.
Yeah.
I wonder. Let me see because I know we've talked about Gear Monkey Racing before. I wonder what he's got in his XJ axle wise.
no.
Wow. Open up Instagram and it's Bert Kreischer in a Speedo.
There you go.
What's up, Bert?
No, PJ, this is for you.
Oh.
But money is no object,
Uh-huh.
right? What axle setup would you do in the LJ?
I've thought about this for so long. I've contemplated every option. So I've seen a lot of people do the Ford what is it? Dana 60 Ford?
The Super Duty.
Yeah, the Super Duty
Mhm.
axles. I feel like those stick out too far.
That's
at least on
wide.
TJs.
1 tons are super wide.
Yeah.
That's a wide setup.
if I was gonna do 1-tons from like a Super Duty,
Yeah.
I would chop it and shorten it
Yeah.
just to make it fit like a factory style length.
Yeah.
So much work though to shorten
It is,
tubes.
and that's like the only thing that makes me hesitate to do it, because I don't want to reach that point yet. Like that's
a
trailer rig
Oh,
only off road. Like I wouldn't daily drive that for shit. I would stick to either a stock TJ LJ Rubicon axle, 44s front and rear, truss it, gussets, gears, like the whole 9 yards for that.
Yep.
Or JK, same thing, gears, truss, gussets, built.
What are you gearing it at?
See, that's the other thing. I don't understand the gear ratios as much.
That's an easy one.
I just haven't reached that realm yet.
Yeah.
But I know there's a fine line between overgeared just for having that torque aspect.
If you want to daily drive it, don't go over 480.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to figure out. Like, what's the fine line so I can still drive it on the road, but still have good torque off road.
So it's all about your cruising RPM, right?
Yes.
So like, if you want the taller your gear ratio, the lower your top speed.
Yep.
The higher your RPM to go a certain speed.
There's a whole chart. I've
Right.
looked at
Oh,
it
yeah.
several times.
Yeah. So like, like if the fine line in between like the 456 and 488 with a TJ and 35s, you're talking like 600 RPM, and you're talking cruising RPM versus power band.
Yeah.
Like if you go to 488s and you want to run 6570, you're going to be power band cruising down the highway, and you're going to suck down fuel.
Yep.
Like people say all the time, like, oh, I want to re-gear for fuel mileage. And it's like, well, easy, because where are you at now, right?
Yep.
Like if you're 410s and 35s in your JL with an 8-speed and you go to a 456, you're really not going to notice much of a difference because you have 3 overdrives.
Yep.
You might get half a mile to the gallon difference, and you just spent $2,500 to re-gear your axles. But your benefit on that level is you're getting better crawl ratios in your lower gears, your first, second, and third, and you're off-roading better at 456 versus 410. And then the complete flip side of that is you go to like a 513 and 37s, and now you're well, your shit doesn't count because you have like your shit's ancient. But like on the JLs, with
How does that not count?
Because your shit's old. Nothing about your Jeep was built for fuel efficiency.
Also true.
That's not relevant to what I'm talking about. But then like your 513s are moving that tire so much easier in the higher gears that your engine's straining less. Like it's very specific to what your setup is, and thankfully Jeeps are so heavily modified. Like there's a lot of information out there, and the charts are pretty accurate. And like, I think, for somebody who doesn't trailer their rig, like a 456 on 35s is a money setup.
Yep.
Yeah.
You could get away with 410s. Like that would probably be the better highway cruise.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get much gear benefit off road with a 410
because it definitely needs better gears as of now.
Well,
with the setup,
with a stock
for daily
tires,
driving,
those automatics and those TJs are garbage.
Because I don't think my overdrive works anymore, but I honestly don't really need it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what axles are in this guy's XJ. They look stock.
I think it'd be
in the
fun
pictures.
to see you on JK axles.
Oh yeah, I've thought about
like
doing
44
that for
front
years.
and rear.
And the nice thing is they're only like 4 inches wider, so it's really no different than running wheel spacers.
Yeah.
That's the other aspect of it is like I could run a different wheel that has a deeper dish to it.
Yeah, you could have a positive offset
And-
on there and
yeah.
suck them back in.
Yep. But the only downside is I'd have to get new wheels if I didn't get an adapter, but then that would push the wheel out.
Yeah, but I think the wheels would be the easy part.
Because I have to run
there's
spacers right now.
so many options out there
Yeah.
that it like, if anything, it'd probably help you get rid of the spacers. And
Yeah.
you probably
That would be my end goal.
you probably
is to get rid
would
of the
net
spacers.
probably the same width that you're at now, not having to run a spacer on there. Run a little bit of a positive offset or a zero offset. And
Yeah. Do you have spacers now?
Yeah, I have to run spacers.
Yeah.
It rubs on my control arms.
So you're probably going to be about the width that you sit now with JK axles. Maybe a touch wider. And again, like they are. I know I have a 44 rear in the yard. I don't know if I still have a 30.
I know where a 30 is.
It's bent. You don't want that one.
If I'm doing JK, I would do 44 front and rear.
You're going to spend $5,000 for that.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
We found some the other day.
But I wouldn't waste my time trying to do a JK front axle if it wasn't a 44, because
the easiest way to
trust,
easiest way to start off is find a set of Rubicons that someone swapped out, call it a day.
I want the ones out of the yellow one.
Out of the yellow one.
The TJ that's on our lift.
Oh. Well, that may be an option here shortly.
Yeah.
I think those axles are going to come with a Jeep, though.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's a sad story.
That really,
I don't want to bring our listeners down on that one.
Yeah, that is a sad one.
Everyone pour out your coffee or
the first Jeep death of the year.
I would rather see you go JK Rubicon axles than TJ Rubicon axles, because those TJ Rubicon lockers are a pain in the dick.
It's honestly not worth it. Like, to get TJ Rubicon axles and then keep stock lockers in, they don't make parts for them anymore.
That's true. Yeah.
And they're like half electric, half vacuum.
You're going to end up just replacing them with aftermarket lockers anyway. So
JL.
Yeah.
JL.
Yeah, you could do that. The JL speccing is not that much different.
Mm-mm.
There's just less of them and they're more expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah,
just go to Pick and Pull. Find that Rubicon that got totaled because it got bumped in the rear.
Wow. I got excited. I thought this was a 2-door Rubicon for $12,000.
But the other part of that JL one is there's readily available parts for JLs now too.
Well, of course. I mean, you're going to start to see that natural curve start to die off for the JK stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, as the JL now keeps going, it's 5 years old at this point. You know, there's plenty of stuff in the aftermarket for it, but at this moment, your best deal is going to be a set of Rubicon JK.
I also think it would be fun to say a JLLJ or LJ
JLJ.
LL.
See, this is my problem with this stuff.
JLJ.
This guy is selling a Dana 44
here we
JK
go.
Rubicon front axle assembly
Down the fucking rabbit hole
for $1,550. I'm like, oh, that's not bad. Complete axle, brakes, knuckles, steering, the whole 9 yards.
So $1,500.
$1,500.
Okay.
I'm like, that's actually a reasonable price.
I just took the carrier out of it.
Complete assembly with locker from a wrecked Jeep. Left front tube seems bent.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do with a $1,500 paperweight?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to retube this axle for,
show off how much money you have?
See, and then there's this guy who's selling a Trust rear 44 and a Trust front 30. Does it have gears and lockers?
Didn't realize we were back on the Facebook Marketplace episode.
This actually might be a good deal for you.
Oh, God.
Here we go.
We only have
every time we're recording?
You only have to drive all the way to Erie, Pennsylvania.
Oh.
But it is a sleeved, trussed, and gusseted Dana 30, 1-ton tie rod, drag link flip, which would be good for your geometry. 456 Yukon gears with True Tracks and diff covers on
good thing it's got diff covers.
Well, it's the good solid, like the company solid. He only wants $3,000 for both axles.
That's not bad.
Are they Dana 30s?
It's a Dana 30 front, 44 rear, but they're both built already.
That's not a bad deal.
I don't know.
The downside
you
is
really want the 44. Which I can't blame you. Like,
if I'm gonna spend the money,
if you're gonna upgrade, especially if you're gonna go to JK axles, 44 front and rear all day. I'm with you there.
Well, he already has a 44 rear.
Well, no, I'm saying if he's going to JK axles,
I'd want to keep it symmetrical.
Here's a set of 1-tons for $1,200.
Sold.
10.5 Sterling 10.5.
Well, now that we're about to
get it going.
Now that we're about to go down that rabbit hole, might as well just start cutting this one short.
Ooh,
Here we go.
Ooh. This is the setup right here. Wagoneer full width 44s.
Oh, God.
It's a whole set for $300.
I think in this case it's what would Fred Williams do?
Yeah.
And the answer is
Wagoneers.
1-ton axle swap.
Honestly, these Waggy axles are that's a fucking deal. I don't know where Mayock, North Carolina is.
Not close.
It does sound far away.
Sounds made up.
Watch. We're going to look it up. It's going to be like right on the border. No? of South Carolina.
Does that sound like that would be 205 miles from here?
Potentially, yes.
Was that like an 8-hour drive?
It is right across the border from Chesapeake.
Woo! Called it.
It is right. It's right near off Virginia Beach. It's
There you-
literally right on the border.
Wow, that
Right
may
off
be worth
17.
taking that
So
drive.
what's wrong with them?
Yes.
I mean, they're old and rusty, but you're cutting all the brackets off anyway.
So you're basically doing my job all over again.
Chances are, if they're FSJ, so if they're off a Wagoneer or a Cherokee Chief, you're probably 410s or 373s. The downside is your rear is going to be drum, and your
Gross.
driver's
You did
side
the-
drop. Yeah,
Because you already did the brake conversion on yours, didn't you? Or you
Oh,
s-
it came
No,
with
the
them.
LJs are.
oh, that's
disc.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on that note,
Yeah, it's
we'll stop this one here before Tom just starts groundhogging his way through fucking Facebook Marketplace.
There's a set of one-tons for $5.
Come
Here we
with
go.
me, and you'll be in a world of uncomprehension.
But yeah. So hopefully you guys got something out of that
You want some-
episode.
You want a Dana 35?
Oh God.
And a
No.
And see
stock
now
30?
now we're getting to the stupid shit.
I'm trying to go up. You got to bump those numbers up. 44.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to the episode, guys, because we're not going to keep doing this for the next 45 minutes.
I'm distracted.
Yeah. ADD's a bitch. But yeah, so basically, if you take anything away from this episode, it's build it for what you want to do. And then call us and
Slight pet peeve while we're
Oh,
wrapping up
God.
the axles topic here. They are not both rears.
Huh?
There are old guys that call front axles rears. I got two rears out of a
no.
Oh, yeah.
out of
No.
a
No.
F-150. No,
No.
there's a rear and a front.
Well, it's
They're
just like
differentials or axles.
just like it's either a fender or a quarter panel.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a front quarter panel.
Right.
There's no such thing as a rear fender.
A
Okay?
hood or a bonnet?
I'm going to smack you.
That doesn't count. It's like a trunk or a boot. Like
Yeah.
it's two different countries.
Yeah. But
it's not a front rear.
yeah, no.
That's the old muscle car guys that only had rear axles.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy's got
Oh God.
pallets.
Anyway, on that bombshell.
This guy's got like 3 different pallets. of
Jesus
axles.
Christ. All right, and we're done
Numerous
for the day.
front and rear axles from 87 to 95 YJs.
Thanks for listening.
I think this is great. I think there's a TJ rear axle in there too. Not sure what axle you need or what gears. $300 per axle, and it's one picture of just a pile of axles.
Honestly, I really wish, Tim, for you to just cut, like, slowly turn the volume down while he's ranting.
I see. This looks like
That would be a
60.
perfect outro.
Check us out on all socials.
No.
Play the
What is
music
that? What axle?
while he's talking.
DirtNerdsOffroad.com. Check us
be a
out on all the
perfect outro.
socials.
This
We're
may
just
be a
going to
fun
fade
show
out from
before.
here, guys, because this is getting fucking ridiculous.
There's
Go buy
definitely-
some-
there's
oh my
there's definitely a couple tons. There's definitely a couple tons.
All
in
right.
this picture.
If you guys, even if Tim doesn't do it, if you just want to slowly turn down the volume on your radio and fade this out yourself, you're more than welcome
People
to.
are asking you ridiculous questions. Pretty fast. They worth $350 for a day.